Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 27 of Blerds on Nerds, starring the infamous Matt
Hi.
and the wondiferous Lana. What's that?
Wandiferous?
Yeah, you know what? Anybody can add a word into the dictionary because it's a free country. You can say whatever you want. You can put some sounds and syllables together, and then you can just say it. If you can pronounce it, you can say it. It can.
Can I interject and say that I just learned a word today? Because I wanted to say it on the podcast, but I didn't think I was saying it right. So I went to howdoyousay.com.
There's a web. Wow, of course,
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
website for that. Of course,
If you if you type in like how do you say or how do I say Matthew, like it'll
uh-huh.
take you to a dictionary and then you click the word and it'll say it.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna say what word it is until I use it, and then I'll tell you what word it is.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for that because there's been some words I've just been looking at like.
I'm gonna tell you, there has been plenty of times on this podcast I have said a word and been like, "Is that right?
You
Did
know
I say that
what?
right?"
English is a cruel, cruel language.
And when we when I don't want to say we like talk ad nauseum, whatever, it's a podcast, but when you're just like kind of ranting or talking about how you feel about something or giving your opinion, and you just start using all these words, and you're like, I don't. I can't stop myself, but I'm liking the way the words connect, even though they may not mean what I think they mean.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but for me, this word will be used. It has to be used today.
Do
But I
it.
will give you a hint. It has to deal with the Hobbit.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Which, by the way, you kind of need to have howdoyousay.com if you want to pronounce 9/10 of the cast.
How about that?
Because I'm gonna be, but I just want to say, and I'm sure Lana, maybe for you too, I'm gonna be butchering some of these names when we talk about the Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, because there's just.
Desolation of Smaug.
By the way, I didn't know what desolation meant until after I saw the movie.
Stop.
I had to look it up.
Stop.
Well, I mean, I knew what it meant. Actually, let me backtrack. I knew what desolation meant, but I was using it in the wrong context. I
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
Because when I see the movie, I'm like, oh, it's not that kind of desolation.
Speaking of Smaug, you lead us into Blast from the Past with your Blast from the Past. You know what? We need like a theme for Blast from the Past, like Blast from the Past or Blast from the Past. Which one do you like?
I'm glad you're just amusing yourself.
I know. Woo! Okay, look, it's early for me still, okay?
I was sitting here listening, like, okay, she's really going in, and I'm never upset when you do, but it's always something new for me, and I'm just like,
I never even know when it's gonna happen. How about
it
that?
does, yeah. Well,
It's
anyway,
anyways. Your blast from the past is
my okay, so as I mentioned, and I tweeted out yesterday that Lana and I had went and saw Hobbit, kind of at the same time. By the way, I was kind of stalking you a little bit yesterday. Just because when I was leaving the theater, you were checking in or
yeah.
checking. You had a status saying that you were seeing the Hobbit. So it was. I had tweeted before I left. I was like going to see the Hobbit. I was like, Lana and I are going to see the Hobbit, 3 hours apart, but whatever. You know what we mean.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I'm leaving, I check Facebook, and you're like, the Hobbit. I'm like, oh, so she really is seeing it 3 hours after me.
Yes.
So my blast from the past really takes me back to when I first saw Lord of the Rings, and I think I talked about it last week with my father.
Mm-hmm.
But really, not necessarily about that, but about the movies themselves and how the contrast is. Because even though you have Lord of the Rings and you have this story about Frodo, and then and you see, we have this story about Frodo, and then we go forward and we see this story about, or backwards, and we see this story about Bilbo Baggins and how they both have this ring and how the effects on them are too. I'll go more into depth in this when we talk about the actual Hobbit movie, but how the effects are just complete polar
Uh-huh.
and how the arc for each character is different. Um, but it took me. It gave me like a little bit of nostalgia because I really realized from a superficial level,
Hmm.
not a critic level, but from a superficial level, why I love these stories.
Okay.
Just because the sense of unity, the sense of like hope and journey and adventure and spontaneity, and that's just things that I feel like are part of like my core. And I think that's why I was so drawn to these movies because my favorite movie actually was well, in the Lord of the Rings trilogy was the Fellowship of the Ring, and that was the
Mm.
least action packed movie. And I think I'm repeating myself from last week, but it is the least action packed movie. But to me, it was the my favorite movie because it was the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
It laid the foundation to the rest of the stories. And I feel like if you have a terrible foundation, you have a terrible trilogy, Spider
Mm-hmm.
Man. So
Right.
with that being said, I think Peter Jackson is a great director, a great writer. But my blast from the past goes out to Lord of the Rings, the trilogy, and focal point is on the Fellowship of the Ring because watching the Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug, which the first Hobbit didn't do this for me, even though it was still good to me, but it didn't do this for me. The Desolation of Smaug really gave me this nostalgic moment because it really was all about Bilbo
Uh-huh.
versus and then because I feel like in the Fellowship of the Ring it was all about Frodo, and it was kind of a nostalgic moment for me. And I kept thinking about that, and I kept like mirroring them, and that throughout this entire second movie, and it was kind of cool. I really can't wait to talk about it, but that was my blast in the past. And I did actually last night I watched because I got home around 11. I
Mm-hmm.
did watch the first hour of the Fellowship of the Ring. I fell asleep just because it was late, and now
Right.
the movie was boring, but it's kind of slow. It is kind of slow. But yeah, it still reminded me how good that movie was.
You know what? Well, we don't have to wait to talk about it. Let's just talk about The Hobbit right now.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I mean, because we can do whatever we want because it's our show. So
I
let's
love that
just
we keep
talk
saying
about
that. Yeah,
it.
y'all hear us? It's our show. Thanks for
Stop.
listening.
Goodbye.
And unfollow.
Right. So, okay. So, as Matt said, we both went to go see The Desolation of Smaug.
Snake.
And I'm going to be honest, as I always am.
Oh yeah.
The first part dragged for me.
Mm.
I'm not, overall, is it worth saying? Of course it's worth saying. I like the first one better. A lot of people are probably going to disagree with that. I like the first one better. I
Mm-hmm.
thought there was a better balance between action and things going on. I just thought the movie was better balanced. I felt like the first part of the movie was really, really slow with all of the action crammed at the end. I would have
Mm-hmm.
rather had a balance from beginning to end
Right.
of action scenes, and of course we have to have our character development. The story has to be told. I just felt like it was kind of dragging. um I'm curious, did you see, what format did you see the movie in?
I saw it in 2D or standard.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see it in 3D because the Hobbit one or the Hobbit I saw the first time in 2D, and I think I told you this too. I
Mm-hmm.
went and saw it in 3D like a week later with some other friends, and
Uh-huh.
I still had the sense of freshness
Mm-hmm.
to it. I wasn't bored throughout the movie, but at the end I was like, yeah, I'm glad I saw it again. I really was, but I wasn't like overly thrilled that I saw it in 3D. I
Right.
would have rather just seen it in 2D.
Okay, so I did 3D HFR, high frame rate. I know
Hmm.
a lot of you have probably heard of that. It's kind of like a newer format, faster frames, more frames per second. Some
Right?
people get dizzy. Maybe the same people who actually suffer seizures with certain blinking light patterns and stuff like that.
Right.
It happens. I was fine with it. No adverse physical reactions or anything. I have to say though, I wasn't super thrilled with what I was seeing. Okay, let me explain what it looked like.
Go in. Go in.
I put the glasses on. The
Hmm.
first thing comes up and I'm like, what is this?
Oh,
That's
because
just,
the
I
first
was
scene is
like,
when
am I,
they're
huh?
Is the first scene when he's like I can't remember, even though it was just yesterday. He was walking, it was raining.
Yeah, it was raining, and I
Yeah.
was like, this looks like a play. It looked like a
Mm,
play. It was so weird, everything. And you know what? By the end of the movie, I have to say I was used to it.
right.
But I don't know. I don't know if I want to do high frame rate for the third one.
Well, why should it take you?
Honestly,
Why should it take you 2.5 hours to enjoy to
right.
get into
I
I
just
should to the frame rate?
I just didn't I wasn't crazy about it, and it was crystal clear and it was gorgeous, but it almost made it look a little fake in a way. And I know that's kind of weird because it's supposed to look realistic, but we know that with these movies there's a ton of CGI used. And I mean, I know they employed the best technology. So I'm really stuck. Some scenes were awesome in HFR, some scenes not so much
I
because
feel
I felt like I
like
could see too much. Like I saw some makeup that was a little off on
uh-huh.
Bilbo. And I was like, I'm not supposed to be able to see that.
But see, that's the gift and the curse of a high frame rate, uh, high resolution movies, right? That was the complaint of the first movie. I had saw it in HFR and I liked it, but my only drawback was that it was so clear it looked fake. Like the
Yeah.
scenes looked so. It felt like, okay, this is what I told people. It
Uh-huh.
felt like I was on the set,
Hmm.
and that's not a compliment.
Right, exactly.
Because on the set, I know it's fake. If I'm a PA, if I'm a director, producer, actor, I know it's fake. I'm just putting on this image. I'm putting on this attitude. As a theater goer, as a movie watcher, you want to. The reason we go to see movies, especially movies as epic as The Hobbit or any like Batman or anything, Avatar, whatever, is because you're supposed to be pulled into this reality that's not your own, and it's supposed to be so good that it feels like you're being transported to somewhere that is not reality.
Right.
So when I saw it on HFR, the first one, there was some scenes that one my complaint was a lot of the scenes were so fast and it was so crystal clear. At the same time, it worked against each other and it came off as kind of a blur,
Hmm.
and it kind of came off as just too fake.
Yeah.
We already know a lot of these scenes a lot of the scenes are CGI. You can tell on a 2D screen that they're CGI, and that's fine. But I feel like when you watch this high frame rate, it's too good. It works. It's too good. You pass this threshold where it works against its
Hmm.
desired purpose. And I know Peter Jackson is a strong defender of high frame rates. He defended it in The Hobbit. He defended it in this one as well. He's going to do it obviously for the third one too. But I feel like it's just not working in such high volatile scenes or grand scenes. It just
Hmm.
doesn't work. Maybe like a tight knit area or where the production is slow or you're moving slow, it may work in its favor. But when it's extremely fast, I feel like it just doesn't work in its favor.
Yeah. And it's funny. I will probably do high frame rate for the third one. And the reason that I say that is because I'm curious. I want to know, are there any changes? I want to, I need to see I need to see what it's going to look like because I remember my first high frame rate experience being different. I don't remember having the same feelings that I do about this one. And I know technology is always consistent, constantly evolving
Hmm.
with these movies. And so I don't know. I'm curious to kind of see what they're going to come up with. Like, spoiler alert, because, well, we like to talk about the actual, we talk content, sorry.
Yeah.
So, like,
I,
so
we
little,
have friends that do spoiler non spoiler, and you can watch that, and that which are great. The Nerd Element has a really great
yes,
non
Cam
spoiler
is holding it
version.
down with her non spoiler review. Shout out to Cam. Good job,
Shout out to
girl.
Kim. But here we just whatever.
We need to talk about it because it's too hard in my brain to filter out. I can't. It's too
Yeah,
early.
that's true.
So I'm gonna say my favorite scene, and this doesn't give away plot at all, but my favorite scene is the I'm gonna dub it the barrel battle
Mm.
with the Hobbit and Legolas and L'Oreal or Ariel, whatever
Tario,
whatever her with the red
Tario,
hair.
whatever.
Look,
It's
the
with a
elf with
T.
the red hair.
Yes, Evangeline Lilly.
Thank you, her. I knew this last night. It's ridiculous how my brain works.
Right.
Um, but that scene with the orcs
Hmm.
and they're going down the river, and that was pretty awesome. That was awesome in high frame rate. It was fast, but it was clear. So I feel like I could see the detail, and it was so fast. I think that's my favorite scene in the entire movie. And it was nice and long, and I loved that. And how about any fight scene with Legolas and um
Evangeline Lilly.
Ariel? Yeah, thank you.
The Little
Because both
Mermaid.
of them, they're just bad. Oh my gosh, with the bows and the swords. I'm like, can I just get a bow and arrow for Christmas? Mom, Dad, you listen to the show.
I okay.
Bow and arrow.
I kind of
Thank
okay. I
you.
have well. Okay, let me see. I have to disagree with you.
No!
The
No!
okay, well, sorry,
Tell me.
Tariel and Legolas. Any scene they were in was excellent. I completely agree with you there.
Okay.
Now, here, okay, that's why I said in the beginning from our blast and past, from a theater goer's perspective,
Okay, tell me.
you'll love this movie, right? It's a really good movie. It's full of action. It's just the right time, right kind of length. I think 3 hours is good
What do you mean in
quality.
3 hours? What time did you guys get? It was, it was,
Oh, you're
it was
right.
like,
Because we went there the movie started at 7:40. We got out at like 10:20, so not really 3 hours.
yeah. People are like, because they were all 3 hours. I was like, yeah, go ahead.
No, you're right. I was going and thinking it was because they're usually 3 hours, right?
No, so
Like,
was I. I was thinking it was going to be 3 hours.
yeah, it was actually shorter. Maybe because it's the middle one, or I'm sure the third one would be 6 hours. But
Right.
um, going in, I feel like as a theater goer, from that superficial level, I think a lot of people will like this movie. From a critic's perspective,
Mm-hmm.
it was just okay. So
Yeah.
when I left the movie, I really liked it. I loved it. But then I started thinking about it, and I'm just like, I haven't read the books. I remember hearing about the books, so I decided to, do a little cheat sheet last night and looked into The Hobbit itself, the book or the novel. Well, the novel is it's a short little adventure about Bilbo.
Mm-hmm.
And a
Short.
lot of and it's short, right? Evangeline Lilly's character was written in by Peter Jackson. That she does not exist in the story, which is fine. I still
Mm-hmm.
loved her. I'm glad she was fluid. She fit in very perfectly. Um, but that was like one thing I noticed that was a big drastic difference. A lot of this. Here's the thing. Here's the gift and the curse of Peter Jackson. He wants to do all these trilogies, but that book again is a light, short story novel about Bilbo Baggins that does not need 3 movies to take
Mm.
place. It needs maybe 2.
Two would have been perfect. Three is why it
Right.
dragged in the beginning.
It dragged in the beginning, it dragged in the middle, and it dragged in the end. So for me, one of the big draw. So going to the elf land where Tariel and Legolas and the dwarfs were locked up. That part takes place in the movie, or it takes place in the book, but also it's very short. Bilbo does save them. He puts them in barrels. They get in the water and they leave. That's it. They escape. Now the orcs versus the dwarfs versus the elves. That is new. Peter Jackson wrote that in. I
Mm-hmm.
felt that the battle scene was gorgeous, but it was just a little bit too long. I feel like a lot of the scenes in the movie, you could see
Mm-hmm.
where it was like, okay, you can stop here.
Mm-hmm.
You could stop right here. Like Tilly, which is the dwarf that was stabbed and that got shot in the leg, and Tario, like that whole flirtation scene. I was genuinely bored.
I was like, why are they doing that?
It was forced because I feel like I can't remember. I can never say the king's name. Thranduil, Legolas's father. When he was talking to Tario and he was like, don't give him any hope where there isn't any. I feel like where that ended, end it. But for her to deliberately, I don't know if it was, well, it couldn't have been deliberate, but the next scene cuts to her walking down and flirting with Tilly, and all of a
It
sudden
was
Legolas
weird.
sees this scene. And it's just, that part, even it was what, 5 to 10 minutes? And it was just 5 to 10 minutes of complete boredom to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the barrel scene, the action was great. I love that entire scene. But once they got out of through the gate and they went down, they dipped down, and it was just like I kept saying, like, is this going to end? Like these orcs aren't going anywhere.
Right.
Like they're not dying. I feel like I'm seeing more and more of them show up. How are they going to get away? And even though some of the things were cute, like the one dwarf in the barrel when he flies up and he like hits all the orcs and spins,
That
and
was cool. That reminded me
that
of a
was
video
really,
game.
really cool. Yeah, it
It's
did.
like
And it was
Donkey
really
Kong.
cool. It was like Donkey Kong. And then he busts out and he's like fighting them. And that was really cool. It was
That
really,
was
really
cute.
cool.
Yeah.
But it's just like, you can stop. I found myself a lot of times in the movie being like, you can stop here. You can
Mm.
stop here. Like you can cut it here. Kind of going back to Bilbo and Frodo, it was really cool to see, because this doesn't take place in the book, but or the depth of the arc or the growth of Bilbo. You don't really see that in the book. So Peter Jackson did a really great job of showing us how the ring influenced Bilbo.
Hmm.
How like it gave him a sense of power. How like his sting or his blade was once used for defense. Right, it was always a defensive mechanism until the spider scene where he killed that spider, and you really saw what's his name, Precious.
Oh,
You really saw that.
yeah.
'Cause remember, he
Dude.
grabbed his ring and he was like, mine.
Yes, you saw it kind of like
You
taking
see how,
over the way it kind of
right,
started to change.
how dark
Since
he was?
yeah, and the way what we saw happen to Frodo, since the Lord of the Rings trilogy came out first, kind of seeing that, with Bilbo and kind of his actions in the Lord of the Rings too.
Right.
How it starts to ever so slightly change him, even when he lies to Gandalf. So
Oh my
it's
God, that love that. I did love that scene.
yeah, that was good. So there was some really pretty phenomenal acting. There was, I did enjoy that. I thought everybody did a really great job, with their characters and everything.
I agree. I completely agree.
And there were some scenes that were just awesome, and it was nice. It was Gollum. It was nice,
Gollum,
even
yes.
though even
Thank
though
you.
Gollum, wasn't featured in this movie really. Just the little, he's wrapped up in that web.
Right.
You see like a itty bitty little peak, and then that's it. He just pops up in these different places, so I think that's kind of cool.
I thought it was really cool, and I just love how Peter just really gave us a nice foil or a nice mirror of Bilbo and Frodo. Like you said, like Frodo was very much he was afraid of he felt the burden of the ring,
Yeah,
right?
because he really
Versus
didn't want it.
he didn't want it. He just wanted to get rid of it. He wanted to kill this evil. Versus Frodo is like you see him tapping into the power. You see him using it against Smaug. How he's
Oh,
like,
Bilbo, yeah.
I'm
Hmm.
sorry, yeah, Bilbo, how he's using it to like talk to Smog and manipulate Smog in the end, and really groveling and like stroking his ego. I feel like the ring helped influence that dark side because before Bilbo was very patient and soft spoken, and he is still scared and still timid. But I feel like that ring has really Peter
Yeah.
Jackson did a really good job of influencing that. Now, really quick, I'm a huge the one thing I don't like about this movie, and it's just no one could do anything about it, is that I'm a huge arachnophobe. I'm a
Mm.
huge arachnophobe, and I knew that there were spiders in this movie. People said that critics were saying that one of the best scenes in the movie was the spider
It's
scene.
pretty cool.
It
Pretty
was
tight.
pretty cool. Now, when I tell you that when I think it was Bilbo when he was looking up when he thought he killed all the spiders or he distracted all the spiders and he threw that rock and then he walked over the branch and that spider came up. When I tell you I knocked my glasses off, like
Stop.
I
Are you
jumped
serious?
so hard. The people around me were laughing. But I am a true arachnophobe. Like that scene was really hard for me to watch. I'm just like as I'm watching, I was like I had my hand over my mouth and like I was trying not to cover my face and it was a really really great scene. So I can't take away from how great that scene was. But at the same time, I'm just like I hate spiders.
But you know what? It did its job. It
It
being a true
did.
arachnophobe, if you had that reaction,
Woo.
then they did their job. So you've never seen arachnophobia?
Oh, I've seen arachnophobia.
Do you love? I
My
mean, is it
my
the
sisters made
ultimate?
me watch it.
Is it the ultimate spider movie or what?
Lana, this is why I'm an arachnophobe. That should have been my blast in the past
I
because
know,
that's why I'm
right?
a true arachnophobe because my sisters made me watch arachnophobia. My older sister is 10 years older than me. And when I was a child, both of them made me watch. So they watched arachnophobia and I watched it with them. And I was like, are you serious?
That
Arachnophobia, ticks, the fly, I hate the
Ah,
fly.
the fly.
I'm not scared of flies, but I like flies just,
It's
ugh.
nasty.
But spiders for sure, no matter how big, how small. I think like even like the back of the spiders in those scenes scared the crap out of me.
You
Like
know
when
what?
Bilbo,
Oh, go ahead. I
I
was
was just
just.
saying I was just saying when Bilbo was looking at the spiders like from behind, they even like the detail that went into the illustration and the creation of those creatures was
Mhm.
so magnificent and so realistic.
It was, yes. I loved it. I loved it. See, that was one of those scenes that it was nice to see in HFR because it was so real. It was like I was standing in front of that spider.
And speaking of the spiders and just the detail, Smaug, there's not one thing I would take away from the design,
Nope.
from the aesthetic. I mean, from the voice, Benedict Cumberbatch, excellent job, to the full body and just the grandness of that creature,
Oh my gosh.
to the landscape. I mean, just that entire. I know you said that you wish you didn't that they would have balanced that out, and I completely agree. Meaning the fight scenes versus the bland or boredomness.
Hmm.
But that fight scene at the end was so good.
Oh, it was awesome. That was so good. And I really loved it. And Thorin, oh my gosh, got to see a lot more about his personality and his character and his motivations in this one. And I find his character to be fascinating. It's almost like looking at someone who half of his motivations are selfish and the other half of his motivations are more honorable. And it's just, I don't know. There's, I like his character a lot.
I do, okay, I'm torn because I did like his character until this movie, and the
Hmm.
reason, and I shouldn't say not in a, I don't mean that like okay they did a poor job of acting or writing. I just think his development and what he's
His
developed
development.
into.
Hmm.
I'm just like you're gonna have people that like him, people that hate him, that hate to love him or love to hate him, whatever. I saw glimpses of Bilbo inside of him. And I
Mm.
feel like the whatever crystal is. I know it's not a crystal, but
Yeah.
I feel like that is his ring.
Oh,
And I
that's
feel like
right.
that's all he. I mean, yes, he wants his city to. He wants Erebor to be back, and he wants it to be restored, and he wants to kill this dragon, and he wants to restore his town. But at the same time, it's like I feel like he has a very selfish and dark part of him that he needs to deal with as well.
Yeah.
From the things he was saying, like I don't care about this burglar, I don't care, and then when he ran into Bilbo inside of Erebor, and he was like, "Did you find the?"
The
I wish I could think
stone.
of the stone. And he was like, "Yeah, I did, but I don't have it, and I'm about to die.
Yeah.
There's like this dragon trying to kill me." And he's like, "Let's just get out of here." And he's like, "No." He was going to kill.
Yes.
He was going to kill him. He was going to. He and Smog. And I feel like it wasn't really Thorin that really showed me who he was, except for that one scene. But it was really Smog's dialogue or monologue that when he was talking to Bilbo about, don't you see? Like
Yes.
he's like, don't you see? He's just I can smell it. He's just using you. He doesn't care
Yes.
about you. You are a means to an end. He weighed his options, and you are worth nothing.
And even in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, when the legacy or the history of the dwarves was unfolding before, or I hadn't read The Hobbit, so before all of this stuff, dwarf history is pretty interesting because just like Gandalf was saying, they got greedy, they dug too deep and
Mm,
unleashed all of this evil because of their greed. And now we're seeing bits and pieces of this personality through Thorin
mm-hmm.
and the type of people that a lot of the dwarves were, as far as their greed and their riches and wanting more and more and more and more by any means necessary.
Right, and I just like even, and I guess I the one theme that I noticed about this movie was just about preventing war, right? Like this is all about preventing the end because once like Soren once everything is accomplished and everything is out there, like the world is over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the world, I'm sorry, yeah, the world is over. And like Soren's, I love the scene like with Soren's eye and what it really represented, or I feel like it represented when the wizard, what's his name,
Gandalf?
Ghost.
Which one?
Which one is the main wizard that plays Magneto?
Oh, Gandalf.
Gandalf. See, this is the opposite. Remember, we have like word vomit, and there's times I'm like, I can't think of anything.
Yeah.
Gandalf, when he goes to the town, or that not the town, but that dark, cursed
Mm-hmm.
area where he like releases the light and tries to like bring everything to the
Yeah.
light. Like that scene was really cool, but like that scene had obvious CGI flubs. Like some parts of the scene just looked really forced and cheap looking. Even like the scene where he was fighting the darkness. Which I found to be really cool, is not in the book at all.
See,
And
now, oh, go ahead,
no,
finish.
I was just saying like that's not in the scene at all. That's not in the book at all. But it was cool to see the eye and see what was inside of it, and
Yeah.
like what it represented. I thought that was really cool. I don't know if that's a spoiler or not, but when people see the movie, though, it's an obvious scene. You can't miss it. You just see the eye and you see what's inside of it. And I think that's something that was never, or at least from my point of view, was never explained in the Lord of the Rings. You just always saw the eye at the mountain, but you never saw what was inside of it. But yeah, I just think overall, I think the movie was really good. It was kind of funny at the end. Some guy behind me was like, "I knew there was going to be a third one," and I was like, that was announced when the first one was like in post production.
That was announced before. Anyways, whatever.
Yeah, and then we were leaving. People were like, "Do you know who played the voice of the dragon? Like, it sounded so familiar." And
Isn't
I just
it?
turned around and I was like, "Benedict Cumberbatch,
Okay.
idiot!" And the
And
chick
it's
was like, "Thanks."
oh my gosh, and it's so funny. It's like because we know this stuff is like secondhand. It's like duh. How come you
What are you,
don't know who this
stupid?
is? I,
Do you watch
so
Sherlock?
right. So okay, so we're done with the Hobbit now. Go see it.
Please do.
That
Please
was
do.
it. We went into character development, but it wasn't terribly spoilery. But moving on, some of the trailers that came before the movie had me a little bit excited. Got to see a trailer for Spider-Man 2.
Oh,
It
so you got to
looked
see it.
gorgeous.
It does. The ending scene with him and Electro, that's really good. That's
Yes,
really good.
yes, and I'm super happy that Emma Stone is back in it. I like Emma Stone a lot. She was in the first one. She's back as Gwen Stacy.
Hmm.
So I like Gwen Stacy's character better than MJ.
I've always liked Gwen better than MJ. MJ's just a commercial favorite.
Yeah, I like where this is going. The action looks phenomenal.
Do you like
I
Andrew Stevens as Spider Man?
oh Andrew, I do.
Or
I
I'm sorry,
do.
Andrew Stevens, Andrew Garfield.
Yeah. No, I do. I didn't know if I was going to like it that
Hmm.
much. I mean, okay, so I don't really read Marvel, so I haven't read, the different Spider-Man comics and things like that. Actually, I have to credit my dad for kind of breaking down the several different series, like Peter
Yeah.
Parker, Spider-Man, Web of all that stuff and how they're different, and he, being a Spider-Man reader and fan, I think likes this one better
Hmm.
than the first trilogy.
This is before MJ, so I
Yeah.
like it because it's more of an origin story.
Hmm.
I like back to Gwen. I've always loved her better than MJ, but again, she's the commercial favorite. Every cartoon show that Spider Man did was
Yeah.
always Mary J. That was really where it was. But I really do like this. Only thing is, and like I said last week, and I'll say it again, seeing
Hmm.
it on the big screen really did do it for me. Like definitely, like I have to see this
Yeah.
movie. But again, I just wonder how they're going to pack all these villains and all this story into this movie.
Yeah. Well, you remember I want to say it was the third because I've pretty much blocked the third Spider-Man of the first trilogy out of my memory.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we had more than one villain. We had Sandman and Venom, and I think it was the third one, Sandman and Venom in the same movie. So they've done it. I was angry because I like Venom and I would have wanted to have an all Venom movie. I
Well,
think that could have been good, but instead we got Sandman, Venom, and emo Peter Parker.
it just this, and I feel like
So,
I'm sure they looked at that movie and was like, okay, we want to have all these villains in this Amazing Spider-Man 2. Let's look at our mistakes. I'm hoping they're doing this. Let's look at our mistakes and let's redo this.
yeah, and the test is going to be the third one, the third Spider-Man of the new series, because the first two Spider-Mans of the old series with Tobey Maguire were good. Were good. The third one is the one that sucked. So we're still in the safe zone right now. When that third one comes out,
That's true.
that's the test.
Because Spider-Man 2 wasn't bad.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't bad. The third one sucked. So now we're still in safety zone. We're still in, Spider-Man 2 mode right now. So when the third one comes out, that's going to be the test. Is this a
Hmm.
better trilogy overall? And just watching that, seeing that in XD, I'm definitely will be looking at that because we do like out here where I live, where because I live in a smaller suburb, I've
Hmm.
got an IMAX. Well, I call them fake IMAX. I've got the IMAX
Max.
right about what 15 minutes away, and then I've got the Cinemark XD, which is 10 minutes away.
Hmm.
So I always have a choice. Oh, what am I gonna do? I always pick Cinemark XD because I like it better. I don't like IMAX glasses because they're big, and I would prefer Real D. Just comparing the two, and I look at the specs. The screens are the same size, although the one at Cinemark is, to me, it looks bigger than
Yeah.
the IMAX one. So I just like that better. But I'll be big doing that on the big screen.
Definitely. I really want to see Spider-Man 2. I'm a little, I guess, I know as soon as the trailer hit, I did some digging and I saw that they were already, well, not production wise, obviously they're doing promos and stuff, but they're already, getting ready to start Spider-Man 3, which makes
Hmm.
sense. But
Yeah.
that's not due until June of 2016. I thought it would be next year, but I guess not. I mean, I'm sorry, not next year, meaning 2015. Um, but I don't know if they're going to do the Venom. Well, I guess also we had learned that Sony announced that they're doing a not spinoff, but they're doing a Venom movie and the Sinister Six movie.
That and it's written by Roberto Orci and Alex Kurtzman, which puts me at ease because they're brilliant.
Hmm.
And Ed Solomon, who I'm not familiar with, and they're actually writing Venom.
Right.
I think that is gonna be pretty. I'm excited about Venom.
Only thing and the little that I know, I mean, Sinister Six is comprised of multiple villains like Doc Ock, Vulture, Electro, Craven the Hunter, Mysterio, and Sandman.
Mhm.
But there's been it's kind of like the Avengers, how you have the original Avengers and you have the Secret Avengers, the New Avengers, but even the original Avengers change out. Like Wolverine is part of the Avengers, Iron Fist is part of the Avengers. I mean, so like people keep spinning out. So there's multiple versions of the Sinister Six. They become the Sinister Seven. Then Sandman has his own Sinister Six, and then there's Sinister 12.
Mm.
So I'm interested to see. How they're going to like which ones they're going to pick. I'm sure they're going to have Sandman, Doc Ock, probably Electro, because this is kind of the intro, right? Because Electro is in this movie.
Yes.
Who Rhino is in this movie, but I don't know if Rhino um, is considered part of the Sinister Six. I'm not sure, but I know originally, like I said, there's Doc Ock, Electro, Craven the Hunter, Mysterio, Sandman, and Vulture. Really quick though, I didn't use my word
Oh.
that I was supposed to use. I'm a little upset.
Well, you still have an opportunity. It may naturally come in.
Not anymore because it was tied to the Hobbit. Can I say it?
Yes.
My word. Well, let me. Let me say. Well, I was like, well, because I mentioned how and I know some fanboys out there will hate me or hate us for saying this, but because it's kind of tired. But with the whole Hobbit being, it was two movies. They stretched it out to three. How are you going to fill in all this time? We complained about the boredom. Well, I meant to say that Peter Jackson is taking out. He's expanding the story by pulling out information from the appendices, which is my word, because I thought it was appendixes. And I'm like, appendixes is not the right, because I said it out loud and I was like,
That's
appendixes is
not the right
not the right
word.
word. So I typed in plural for appendix and it was like appendices. And I was like, is it appendices? And so I was like, can you say the word? And it was like appendices. So the word I was supposed to use like 25 minutes ago is appendices. Anyway, back to Spider-Man.
Okay.
It was on
Well,
my heart, Lana. I had to say it.
you know what? Do what you need to do. That's why we're here. We're here to support you.
Right. So, but when it comes to Spider-Man, I am really excited to see Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Venom, because I've always liked Venom. I think he's a staple. It's like having. I see what they're doing. Like it's like Superman and Doomsday, or Batman and Joker. Like either you can play the part and have like that eternal nemesis show up in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
like they did for Batman with Joker, or you can have him show up in the end, like with Spider-Man 3 and Venom.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see how they're going to do 2, and then how they're going to, because I'm sure before they do this spinoff, right, they're going to have to introduce Venom again.
Well, yeah, it may be, and it may be even something, it may be like a stinger trailer. I mean, we don't know how they're going to do it, but there's going to be something. And I don't know, I'm excited. But you know what else I'm excited about?
What?
And we've seen this. This has been like 2 years. Okay. So saw footage at this year's Comic Con, saw this last year.
Oh,
You know where I'm going. Saw it
yes.
last year, and I'm like, why have we've been like radio silence on Godzilla, and then
Uh,
finally the trailers start coming out. I'm like, what the heck? Finally, the trailers start coming out. Can I just say that I might have to suffer with a midnight showing for this. I have been waiting for this movie, and I just, oh my gosh, like Bryan Cranston starring Mr. Walter White himself
yes. With hair.
with hair. And we're gonna have Godzilla, and then I think we're having Mothra. I think the other creature is Mothra, and just, oh my gosh, I cannot wait for this movie to come out. I want it to live up to my every expectation. I think it will live up to my every expectation. And I'm so glad we don't have to wait till next summer. I think it comes out in May of next year.
It does.
And oh my god.
So, this is from Legendary Films, or whatever. Is it films or
Yes.
studios? Whatever.
It's legendary.
Right. And when we were at, yeah, it's just Legendary. But, they've chucked out movies like Inception, or
Yes.
they've helped do Inception. I think they did Batman too, did they?
And we love Inception.
And so at Comic Con this past year, they were giving out tours. And I don't know if we talked about this, I say last year, but 2013. I know, Lana, you and I went, not at the same time, but on separate occasions during
Oh,
Comic
I ended
Con.
up missing it.
Oh, did you miss it?
I missed it. I
Okay,
couldn't
so
get over there.
let me walk you through it. So we get there, and it's like this big building, and you have to sign in and like get a pass beforehand. I don't think they necessarily sold out. It wasn't payment. You didn't pay for it. But it was like different times. Like at 1 o'clock, 1:30, whatever. So you get there. We had to line up outside. We go inside, and it's like this. I took pictures. I need to post them on Twitter.
Please.
And I still have them on my phone. And it's like you have like all this. You're like in the middle of like they redid the entire inside the building, it's like inside the city, but it's like this montage or like these like photographs of Godzilla, like from past to present or before this Godzilla, and just like all these comic strips and all these newspaper articles, and they have this one Asian man, at the bar at this sushi bar, like just reading a paper, but there's no one behind the bar. He's just reading a paper, but he's definitely not with us, right? And then like there's these tour guides, and they're like, please don't take any picture, or you can take pictures. We're like, please just keep everything to a minimum. We're just gonna go through this. You can leave in a few minutes. I'm like, okay, cool. So as we were looking, after about 5 minutes, Lana, I was like, okay, I like this, but this is kind of boring. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is like nothing. Like nothing is happening. So they were like, okay, well, the time is up. Thank you for coming. Please, look out for the movie. And I'm like, okay, thanks. And right when we were about to leave, like this red alarm goes off, and it's like this biohazard is coming, and like and like all of a sudden everything starts shaking, and we have to go through this elevator, and they're like, please no cameras. This one chick tried to pull out her camera. Lana, when I say that director was like, no, like he snatched her phone out of
Whoa.
her hand. Like Legendary was not playing. They were like, you can have no cameras, no footage. Like he snatched her phone, read her for a cool 7 seconds, and then was like,
Oh,
you can have your phone back. And she put her phone in her pocket so fast.
right.
And then the elevator opens, and like it's like these technicians, these people in lab coats, and like everything is exploding, and they're like, help us, like try to put in this code, help us out. And they're freaking out. Then all of a sudden they lead us into like this. I wish I could record it. Like they lead us into this room, which is like a big office, so it looks like we're on like the 75th floor.
Oh.
And like the windows are like a video, but it's like it looks like it's outside and it's storming, and the buildings on the other side are like destroyed. And they're like, please just be quiet, don't speak, don't see it. No cameras. Like someone tried to be cute again, and he was like, no cameras. Like I will break your camera.
Oh
And
my gosh.
put the camera up. He was like, oh my god, be quiet, it's coming. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was huge. It was like a movie
Yes.
theater screen. And then it's like 15 of us. And all of a sudden, you see him, like, you see Godzilla, like, come up, like, from, like, he was under us, like, comes, like, lifts up,
Whoa.
looks at us, roars, and it's the true Godzilla roar.
I love it. I love, oh my gosh.
And then he was like, oh my god, he saw us, run, run, run. And then we, like, run out, and that was it.
That's awesome. I
That
love
was it
it.
was it was so it was so amazing. So of course I couldn't. I think I did tweet about it during that at that moment, but like I didn't post any pictures, but because you could take pictures in the beginning, but once like the whole biohazard part happened, no cameras. He was like, I mean, I wish you could see me like reaching across my computer. He like snatched her phone.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
because she was clearly taking a picture. He was like, no, and gave her phone back. And but it was I was like, that's all I saw. That's the only teaser I saw. And a lot of people were really excited because Godzilla's voice, or sorry, not voice, but his roar is
Yes.
back compared to that bomb of a movie
Or that shall not be named.
that shall
Whatever.
not be named, where his roar was just awful. So a lot of people complained about that, and a lot of people are now excited or big fans are really excited because his voice, his roar
His
is back.
growl, his roar is back.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
But the
And
trailer looks so good. It's very Inception esque. Like even
yeah.
the beginning, like when SEAL Team 6 jumps out. I mean, just and then like I love that they put it through the guy's goggles,
Yeah.
and he's falling. He could see Godzilla, and he's like breathing all hard. And he's like, "Oh my god, oh my god."
You know what? I just cannot. Oh my, I'm so excited. I'm excited that Bryan Cranston is in it. I'm just ah,
Do we know his role at all?
I don't even know his role. He's probably a scientist or something. I don't
He
know.
looks like it.
Right, right. But it's awesome.
If you
So
haven't
those
seen the trailer, please see that trailer.
yeah, it's online. It's online. It's on YouTube. It's all over the place. Just watch the trailer. Hit us up on Facebook and tweet us. Let us know what you think about it. And yeah, it's awesome.
And it's over
And
2 minutes.
yeah, exactly.
It's not a teaser trailer. It's like, I mean, it's kind of teaser, but it's actually a true trailer.
Yeah, it's a real trailer.
I mean, they do give you
So,
images of Godzilla, so or not images, but scenes with Godzilla in it. So
and speaking of movies, now, we've been bombarded with news from the Superman Batman movie that's supposed to come out whenever it's supposed to come out.
Jan,
And right, and I'm thinking I've got two things. It's
hmm
either brilliant or it's a hot mess. Okay? There's only two ways for this movie to go. It's not going to be in the middle. It's going to be a brilliant movie and they tricked us all, or it's just going to be a hot mess.
But
Okay?
what about Man of Steel? Do you think I feel like that was kind of in the middle, kind of leaning
Well,
towards really good, but it was still kind of in the middle.
it was I think it was in the middle too, but for this new movie coming up because of everything. So I mean, what do we know?
We know
We
that
know,
Gal Gadot.
yeah, she's playing Wonder Woman. So we know there is a Wonder Woman. We know Ben Affleck is playing Batman, an older, more wizened, more weary. Batman, not old per se, but he's been around for a minute. We know
Mm-hmm.
Henry Cavill is playing Superman. He's still young or whatever, and now he killed somebody. And now the late, we know that there's going to be a Lex Luthor. We don't know who it's going to be. Now Jason Momoa from Game of Thrones, from Conan, is supposed to be cast. We don't know what role he's going to be, but it looks like they may be pulling people from the Justice League or the Superman universe. Maybe Lobo. I think he could definitely pull Lobo off. And that's more kind of from a Superman. I mean, Lobo
He
is the
looks
character
just
that's
like
been
Lobo.
across Justice League. Yeah, he could do Lobo. Or I heard Martian Manhunter, or John Jaws.
He
I heard
looks.
that tossed around, and he has the physique to do that because he's so tall and muscly. So I don't know.
I want him to play between those three. I want him to play Lobo first.
Me too. Also heard.
And I want him to play Lobo first, and I want him to play Martian Manhunter second.
I would like to see Lobo. Honestly, Lobo's kind of like, he reminds me. He's kind of like an anti-hero type thing. He's not. He's like bad, but not like, like he's not like Lex Luthor bad, or like, he's kind of.
Is he
I
like a
don't.
Deadpool? I don't know much about Lobo. Is he like
He
he's not a hero, right? I mean, he's not like
No,
a.
he's not a hero. But and Lobo was actually one of the villains. I think he was one of the villains. He was one of the villains, month villains. So he is definitely a villain,
Yeah.
but I just see him a little bit differently. But I think if they were to bring Lobo in, I hope they're not just loading up this movie with a whole bunch of different characters. I mean, it kind of, but we don't know because DC they have to keep people buzzing about this movie till it comes out.
They do. Oh,
So
he's an alien and works as an interstellar mercenary and bounty hunter.
yeah, and
He
he rides a motorcycle
and
through
he
space.
he was a hardboiled villain in the '80s and remained in limbo, meaning they just didn't know what to do with him, until his revival as an anti-hero biker with his own comic book in the early '90s.
Yeah, and so Lobo's pretty interesting. I think it would be kind of tight to have him in the movie. But again, I could see him, coming and having some dealings with Superman or something, depending on the timeline. And also, the timeline is going to determine a lot of what we see. Are we years in the future where Superman and Batman have had dealings? Are they meeting for the very first time? Like, we don't know where the timeline is going to land for this movie as far as comic continuity. So, or have we shot continuity and this has nothing to do with comics at all?
Well, if it's Lobo, then they can choose two continuities, right? Because in the New 52, what I'm reading is that Lobo was introduced twice. He was
Mhm.
introduced in he made his a traditional classic form version of Lobo debuted in Deathstroke New 52,
Mhm.
and he is a Caesarian slaver who killed the rest of his race except for his beloved princess. Um, and in the second, there's a second new Lobo, so there's two Lobos in this New 52 universe.
Mhm.
And he was introduced in Justice League, as you had mentioned, in Justice League 23.2 as part of the Villains Month. And this new Lobo, he claims to be the real Lobo, so they are establishing and acknowledging that there's two out there. He's the more traditional and the more traditional Lobo is an imposter. His physical appearance is more in line with the first appearance of Lobo, but he's a little bit thinner and he's a less distorted muscular. He has a less distorted muscular appearance, and he's more cultured, suave, and well educated. And he's
Oh,
also a mercenary still. That's mercenary for hire who sets up shop on Earth after discovering his counterpart has been there.
that could be that would if they're trying to make if Jason Momoa signs to be Lobo, then that could actually work, and he could actually be working with Lex Luthor, and that would make sense.
Can I just say something really quick?
Hmm.
Because I don't know much about Lobo. I mean, he's on the Injustice Gods Among Us game,
Mhm. Yeah.
but I didn't know who he was. I'm just reading about his powers and abilities. This guy is kind of dope.
Yeah, no, I like Global. That's why when the Villains Month came out with the 3D covers. Lobo was super hard to find. It sold out really, really fast. I got one, yeehaw.
Mm.
But it sold out really, really fast. That was one of the harder ones to find. Lobo's pretty popular in the DC universe.
He had powers. At one time, he could grow copies of himself, possessing all of his skills and powers out of every drop of blood that was spilled.
Hmm.
And that power was taken away by someone. I can't say that person's name, but yeah, he's like. I mean, of course, he has extraordinary strength and undefined limits. They vary. His powers vary greatly depending on different artistic interpretations by various comic book writers. But
Hmm.
overall, the foundation is that he's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
Does he counter Superman at all? Like, does he beat Superman? Or I'm sure they've met, but
They come into contact. I don't know. I don't think he's beat Superman before. Actually, I need to read the Villains Month and see what happened. But I don't know. I don't know. I know
yeah.
he's there and stuff, but I haven't read too many comics featuring Global, honestly.
Okay. But yeah, it's interesting because I've wanted to look into him and I totally forgot about him because he's really a bad character in Injustice. They just put him in the game and he's just kind of awful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm definitely look more into Lobo because he looks pretty dope as a character. I just don't know much about him.
Right.
So I think but going back to what you said something that was very very powerful and it's true. I feel like DC is still playing second fiddle to Marvel that they have to constantly be pushing out material and about this movie, which again you hit a threshold, right? You keep talking about something, you hit a threshold, and all of a sudden people are tired of hearing about it.
Hmm.
Thus, you start to lose the fan base. I mean, people will still go see the movie. You and I will still go see the movie, right? But a lot of people will still go see the movie with a tinge of annoyance because it's like,
Right.
okay, like I heard about when Batman, Dark Knight Rises, like they came out with a teaser. The teaser was great. It was sexy. That was all you heard about it. All of a sudden, you didn't hear about casting, except for what's his name as Bane. Um, and then they had the official trailer and then the movie.
Right.
Batman is already the hype. Like we already know it's coming. Like let's go. I don't want to hear about Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Lex Luthor, Aquaman. Why don't you just call it Justice League?
Yeah, just call it, and
Because if they put in Martian Manhunter, just call it Justice League.
just call it Justice League. Because yeah, they were talking about somebody being cast for Aquaman, and I'm like, what if they're? I don't know. I'm interested to see what they're gonna do.
Can
I'm
we see if
interested
the
to see
movie
what they're
just
gonna
does
do.
well? Can the movie do well?
I just want the movie to be good. I just want it
Well,
to be good.
I
I am
want it
in
to be good too.
be good. So
I
okay,
guess
I look. I'm looking at our time.
my head hurts.
Don't.
Because I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sorry. I'm just really well. Let me change the subject really quick. Marvel announced that Don Lana.
Yeah,
How do you say it?
Cheeto.
Don Cheadle. I would say Cheadle. Don Cheadle is cast as, or not cast as, but he's a cast member added to the Age of Ultron Avengers.
Okay, so because he was an Iron Man.
He was an Iron Man, and he took the role of the American Patriot or Iron
Hmm.
Patriot,
Yeah.
and he took the role over from Terrence Howard. Did you care about Don Cheadle over Terrence Howard? Did you have a preference?
At first I was like, oh, Terrence Howard, but I like Don Cheeto. I really don't care.
I think Don Cheadle is a really great actor, and I mean, it sucks for Terrence Howard because the news said allegedly that the reason that they kicked him out and picked up Don Cheadle, which I think was a step up anyway, was because of money. Terrence
It
wanted more
was.
money, and it's like like Terrence Howard, you're a great actor, but
Well, okay, so this is what Terrence Howard said though,
oh, what did
because
he say?
I heard the same thing, and this one came out super recently. He said that Robert Downey Jr. demanded more money, and they
Mm-hmm.
were paying Terrence Howard so much they had to take some of his salary to give Robert Downey Jr. what he was demanding, and Don Cheadle was cheaper. So that's
You're
how he got money.
lying. Are you
That's what
serious?
happened. And he said,
I know that he wanted more money. Robert Downey Jr. did.
yeah, and that's where they got it from. And he's the one who helped Robert Downey Jr. get that role in the first place. He said he didn't hear from Robert Downey Jr. for months.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all hearsay. People have their own viewpoints, but that's what Terrence Howard said. So
Well, the question of the day is where's Terrence Howard? Because I see Don Cheadle has a show on Showtime. He has this. He has
well, the best man holiday.
well, the Best Man Holiday. That is true, but
Besides that, I don't know.
but say before that
I
and
don't
after that, I don't know. And Terrence Howard is a great actor, but that sucks. But I mean, that is kind of a shot in the face as an actor. Like you're doing, like Lana, if you're doing this movie and you're making money, and your counterpart or your co-star wants more money, and they come to you and say they want to take it out of your pocket, like
right.
that's. I mean, I would be upset. Like, no,
I'd be so mad. Like, but you know what? Hollywood is Hollyweird for a reason.
it is Hollywood until Lana and Matt
Yes.
get there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We're gonna
so
clean it up. We're gonna clean it up. We're gonna
we're gonna
go.
clean it up. So I guess before we do any wrapping up or anything, I do want to talk about those two shows you had mentioned before.
Yes, Helix. So we've got two new shows coming on Sci-Fi starting in January, and they sound really, really cool. I'm interested. The first one is Helix.
Mm-hmm.
Helix premieres Friday, January 10th at 10 p.m. and it stars Billy Campbell, Hiroyuki Sanado, and Billy Campbell's from The Killing. Hiroyuki is from 47 Ronin, which comes out
Yep.
soon, and Wolverine.
Do you want to see that? Do you want to
Oh, I'm gonna
see?
go see it. Keanu Reeves can act, but of course I'm gonna go see it. It's got dragons and special effects. I don't need much.
That's true, and that I was talking about it yesterday, and I was like, even though I don't really care for Keanu Reeves, and this kind of story plot has been redone 1,000 times, the trailer just looks so good.
It looks pretty. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so this is a 13 episode series, and basically it's scientists from the CDC travel to the Arctic to investigate some disease outbreak. So I mean that's really all I need is scientists from the CDC and disease, and I'm all over that. Like I it kind of reminds me of, and this is so random, it's X-Files episode. I think it was called, I want to say it was,
Outbreak.
It
I'm
was
just
called, I was like, it was like, I want to say it was like EBE or I don't know. It was one of those, but they had an episode, or maybe it was called Ice. One of them was called Ice, where there was like this parasite and stuff, and they were in the Arctic. But
Isn't it still kind of pulled from the thing?
uh oh, the thing. Oh wow, I haven't thought about that
But it
one.
kind of reminds me, like Helix. Well, at Comic Con this year, Helix was a really big promo there. Like when
Mhm.
you go to Comic Con, they always have what is it? What is that? The Marriott, the really big Marriott that's next to the convention center.
Yeah.
Like somebody pays a crap load of money and they plaster whatever they want on the side. The first year I went was Defiance.
Uh
Like
huh.
Defiance was everywhere. It was all about Defiance, Defiance. And Sci-Fi usually has really big. Sci-Fi is a big name, and obviously in the nerd world, we all know that. And they're really big in the Comic Con world for television aspect, and they really do really great promotion or push really hard. Some
Oh, they
people say
do.
bad,
That's a
but
huge part of their advertising.
right. Helix was promoted all over Comic Con this year, but no one knew what it was because there were no trailers, there was no casting. You just saw posters of like these genetic like cells that are being mutated, and it just said Helix. And the teaser trailer first came out I think 2 months ago, and it's from the creators of Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
So one right there, it's like okay,
Right.
it's an original story. It's from the creators of Battlestar Galactica circa 2005, 2006 or whatever year that was when it came on Sci-Fi. So it looks really good to me. It looks really really good. The little that we know about it, the casting looks pretty great. It's kind of funny how nowadays it's all about the casting too. It doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. I mean, if the story's great, it'll drive it. The actor will drive it. But the other show you had mentioned, the show Bitten.
Yes. That one. And of course, I got to give a shout out to our friend Antonio, big supporter of the show, who
Mm-hmm.
is like, if I have a werewolf question, I'm asking Antonio. If I want to know how to make a werewolf mask, like a real one, I'm not talking about like a fake cheesy mask. I'm talking about this dude is like graduating from college and he knows how to do, he graduates today. Congrats, by
He
the way.
does. He did.
Yes. So, and he can actually do like the makeup and stuff. And I'm asking him how to do all that stuff. So, there's this show called Bitten comes on January 13th at 10, and it's based on Women of Otherworld series by Kelly Armstrong. And this is another 13 episode arc, and it's about this lone female werewolf. She doesn't want to be a werewolf anymore. She leaves her pack. She lives in the city. She's hiding from her boyfriend doesn't know she's a werewolf, but
Mm-hmm.
then wolves from her pack start dying, and when it comes down to it, she realizes she's going to protect her pack by any means necessary. So it's just, that's the story, and it stars Laura Vandervoot from Smallville and V. So you'll
Yes.
probably recognize her from if you watched either one of those shows. But I'm excited. I'm gonna watch both of these. I am. I'm excited about this because it's dry right now, especially with all my shows on hiatus.
Well, and this is also a reason for me to get back into sci-fi.
Oh yes,
Not
thank
that
you.
not that sci-fi's doing anything wrong, I guess, but they like since my big shows I loved were Eureka and Sanctuary. Since those shows left, I really haven't had shows that I'm dying over. Like Fangasm was good, but it's a reality show. Heroes of Cosplay was good. It's a reality show, they were very short. I think they were just kind of like testing the waters for
Yeah,
reality show on sci-fi. Face Off is good, but there's no drama that I'm in love with. Like Lost
exactly.
Girls on there, and I've heard Lost Girls really good. It's about a succubus, and it's like on season 4, season 5. I mean, that was, I guess, I watched the first season. I just wasn't feeling it. Continuum
Yeah,
is okay. I'm not dying over it. What's the
I'm
one show? What is it called? Why do I always lose my train of Being Human?
being human.
It's okay. I mean, I watched the first season. I actually liked it, and I just stopped watching it. Like,
Yeah.
so I'm really
Have you?
hopefully Helix will bring me back.
Yeah, I'm kind of craving some good sci-fi myself. I mean, a lot of the shows now are more fantasy oriented. Like we have Sleepy Hollow, we have like Once Upon a Time in Wonderland, and I need some hard science sci-fi right now. So even Bitten is going to be cool, and I can't wait to watch that. But I'm really looking forward to Helix because I'm just, really, to be honest, I'm catching up on BSG and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
ever since, X Files went off, like, I don't know, it's been, and then we had Fringe, which is really, really good sci fi.
Oh, so good.
And I am watching that too.
And on a bad network.
Yeah, right.
On a
So
bad.
it's good. Fringe is really good sci-fi, but those shows I want something current that's on right now. So if you haven't watched Fringe, if you haven't watched X Files, I don't really want to talk to you.
That's true.
But if you haven't watched that, check that out if you just need a sci-fi fix. But I'm super excited about Helix and giving that a chance. And I just, I really want to watch that.
And if there's anyone out there, like if you have any shows, like Lana and I
Good
said,
sci-fi.
we love sci-fi, but we're just not really liking what we see so far. But I'm sure there's shows that either we have heard of, but just haven't been pushed to watch, or we haven't heard of. Just let us know because we're always looking for something to watch. Hopefully, it's new or like within its first or
Yeah.
second season because it's really hard
We're
to
kind of
play catch up.
OCD. It's
Yeah,
OCD, and I need to start from episode one. Don't, except for Falling
I
Skies,
was just
which
about to.
I
Oh my
skipped an entire season and a
season.
half, and I'm back and I'm good. Oh, speaking of skipping, so I caught up with the last 3 episodes of Shield, and I actually like it again.
I'll give it a chance, I guess.
No, no, but check this out. So I skipped the middle. I do not care. It's like I skipped the middle. I don't miss those episodes. I don't really care what happened in those episodes. I feel nothing about missing the 5 episode chunk that I skipped.
So tell me what episodes you watched so I can start from
I
there.
watched the one starting, it picked up where Thor, kind of left off, and there was some tie-in, there's some Thor tie-in. And if you go on demand, it's on there and you'll see it like in the description, so you'll know which one to start at.
I'll do that one then.
Yeah, so that one, and then the ones after that, I thought the stories were really good. Um Ming Na's had some pretty phenomenal fight scenes, and
Good,
there's some
good.
stuff personally that happened with her that is kind of keeping me hooked in the show.
And
But
J.
yeah,
August Richards comes back, came back.
yeah. So, I mean, it's the past few episodes have been really, really good. There were some minor annoyances, but that's with all the shows. So now that we have our winter finale, the winter finale is pretty cool. It looks like the upcoming episodes are good. But yeah, I have no regrets. You know what? I barely have time to watch stuff as it is now. I'm not going to
Right.
sit through something that I hate if I don't think it's good just because it says Marvel. I'm
It
just
says
not going
Marvel on
to do
it.
it.
That's
I'm not going to do
completely.
it.
You're completely right. But I just speaking of okay, really quick before we end, I forgot to mention one highlight of the Hobbit movie. I know I keep going back to the Hobbit movie, but I like that there were in the water town.
Yeah.
Did you notice there were two black people there?
Yes. I was like, that was not in the book. I don't
I
know.
was with my friend Dave, and I look at him and I go, "Are those black people?" And he busted out laughing. I'm like, "Yeah,
I
we're
didn't
here."
expect it. And I was looking and it was so funny. And I was like, huh. And I said, I know that wasn't in the book. But I don't know. I just thought it was cute.
You know it wasn't in the book. You know it wasn't in the book. But I'm glad that Peter Jackson or whoever did the casting was like, "Oh, we need at least like two black people."
I know because it's Middle Earth. It's not Earth. So I'm sure there's somebody. I don't know. Honestly, the whole place, all of Middle Earth looks like a very uncomfortable place to live. Except for um, Baggins Inn because it looks warm and cozy.
It does. It's like hilly and
And
green and safe,
everywhere else looks very cold and uncomfortable. And
like
that little
prisons.
town where all the people lived, and it looked like an offshoot of Waterworld or something. Like, I wouldn't want to live there. It's way too cold, and it's
It looked
always
like a
wet, and it's always damp. And if you have to wear a coat inside your house, it's a
no. It's a poor man's Venice.
it's a poor. Thank you.
That's what I thought. As soon as they did the overlay like overview of the entire town, I was like, "Is this Venice?"
That's why we're partners. Because you take my ramblings, make it into a cohesive idea.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I guess this is it. Lana, do you have anything else?
That is going to be a no. I had some other stuff, but it can be saved for next week.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Again, as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for liking our page. There were some likes this week and some comments that were posted this week.
Woo!
So I really appreciate it. As always, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. One lesson I did learn from today, is when you're in doubt, go the black route.
Oh.
So on that note, we're going to sign off. We will see you guys next week and continue to spread the nerd, all right? Talk to you guys later.
Bye-bye. I just realized where that came from. I just realized. I said, what? And then I was like, yeah, that is funny. That's funny.